Oh, yeah.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I've been out for knee surgery, so
Oh,
back in business.
okay.
No. I'm gonna be a little your coach today to help you move the business.
Where's the other guy?
You're chairing the meeting, remember?
Where's Paul?
No, you knew that.
Is he?
He's in the.
Here, we got Nick right here. He can help me out.
He's on, you're back. You're not allowed to. So it's fine.
Yeah. What's Dan doing here?
Dan, you should sit at the table because it is a full member meeting, so you will be voting and you do your part.
What is Dan a part of now?
You do count today, Dan.
What is Dan a part of?
Sit over here by your priest. And keep
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Boy, Dan right there. I was bragging on you.
Just slide him on the head.
It's officially me in person.
You got that. You do. I'm gonna grab a agenda for you.
Well, there'll be one person joining us on Zoom. So I tried to expand the seating to where everybody has a seat, and Janie, you should have a name badge. I don't have one for Kim. Janie should have one. And Camila as well.
When are you gonna call me over there?
How are you doing? You're still here around?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
It didn't take very long.
I'll email you.
Yes.
Conversation.
Yeah. Keep going.
Just trying to keep it on top of like 60 zillion meetings and learning all the programs.
You got a lot.
Beating all 260 staff members. Definitely a learning.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But
You
it's
got
good.
rid of the comfy couch.
Lots of good stuff.
You're in.
Just trying to understand where we work.
Whatever I put on the left is,
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, I hear you.
You know how it goes.
I do, but I'm very positive thinking.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about you guys' new project.
Which one?
The one, the.
Elder Village,
Yeah.
and we're doing the SLE events. Yeah, so we got two big ones. Next is the youth. We're going after the money for the youth.
Yes.
I have a great idea though. My great idea is that if we actually, remember I've been talking about getting a smaller room, the whole county in a room and talk about these things. But also just put that little set aside, because there's always that comes out, and to keep the children, the families. Like, I do want to buy one of the hotels, turn it into residential. Supportive services around the clock. I want you, that's my plan. I'll live there.
It's rehabilitative.
It's not a year, it's not 2 years, it's.
I'm like,
feel somewhere to go stay. Someone have meetings, somewhere where you don't have. It's not a sore eye, but it's definitely needed because some people's. Cognitives is for life. So that's my personal opinion, like, we have all these HVAC going in forever. They keep getting this HVAC, that'll go right into there. That's my thought.
Hard to. That's like, that's what makes me.
Especially California, you can find most of it.
It's back. Yeah, I hear that.
But it's like the youth and.
My surgeon in Santa Rosa said it was. She brought them up. Okay, so we should talk. The ones that I've highlighted are we got it. Yeah. I'm like, wow. I don't know what's the word. Some are not. But like, and let's go, but otherwise, right? Oh, no. They have on the item and like, crazy, so I feel really like. That's well, we didn't, you know, we never talked about all that stuff. Yeah, right. Right. Like, I don't know.
Me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, I got to stay home and, you know.
Peter, have you guys seen an agenda?
Thanks. Oh, anyway. Oh, no, don't do that. But we're gonna get into a bunch of. So this. You know, 1 week on, 1 week off. Additional, it works. It works. They're gonna say, yeah. You want those too. Are you gonna write there? That was the roof.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for coming.
Hello.
I need to go.
Well, there you are. Okay. I was gonna do it that next time. Okay, so.
Oh my God, we're all.
Yes.
Oh, so my. There. I like your hair. I like color there. It's. Veronica, should we start or looks like a lot of people here?
I'm seeing if we have, yeah. Yeah, whenever priest is ready, I'm ready to get started.
All right, call the meeting in order at 1:31. And if we could verify a quorum.
So when I call your name, please let me know that you are here. Alice Langdon Sloan or Tania Mura or anyone with Caddo Tribe of Laytonville Rancheria. Scott Marsh.
Here.
Blythe Post.
Here.
Dan McIntyre.
Here.
Denise Gorney. Diana Gutierrez. Here. Jeremy Malin.
Here.
Jacqueline Williams. Here. Jeanette Ornelas or Hannah Nanas or anyone with City of Fort Bragg. Janie Smith.
Here.
Jennifer Cook or anyone with Geo Group. Geo Reentry. Joanna Brewer.
Here.
Joanne Brewer. Joanna Olson.
Joanna Olson here.
My apologies. Judy Albert.
Here.
And Jeanette Ornelas just joined us, so I will go fix that. Camille Waggett. Here. Karen Lovato or Jennifer Thompson or anyone with County of Mendocino here to represent the organization and vote on their behalf. Matt McMullen or anyone? Okay, there we go. Michelle Fox here. Noemi Guerrero or anyone with Mendocino Community Health Clinics. Priest Martinez.
Here.
Teresa DeSimone.
Here.
Paul Davis is on vacation and not present today, and we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We'll go to action item B, public comments.
I received no advance public comment, written comment. I did receive advance notice from Jeremy Malin that he's not able to attend in person because of Brown Act covered reasons for childcare purposes, so he's joining us on Zoom.
More public comment. Okay.
Okay.
All right. To go to C. All right, we'll go into action item C, approval of minutes.
Included in your packet are minutes from the most recent all COC member meeting that was held on October 21st, 2024. Once you've had a chance to look at that, we'll need a motion and then a second to approve the minutes. And then to discuss any changes or additions that may be needed.
Give another agenda.
No, but I can. scroll down.
Okay.
And see.
I can share it here.
Okay. There we go. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, can I have somebody make the motion?
I move to approve the October 21st minutes.
Judy Albert,
I'll second.
thank you, Scott.
And any more comments? If not, we'll call for a vote.
Do you want to do that, Veronica, with the?
Yeah, let me do one thing really quick. Okay, when I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain to approving the minutes presented. Scott,
Yes.
Blythe,
Abstain.
Dan,
Abstain.
Diana,
Yes.
Jeremy,
yes,
Jackie,
Yes.
Jeanette, abstain. Jamie,
Yes.
Joanne, Joanna,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Camille, yes. Matt,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Reese, Teresa,
Yes.
motion approved.
All right, thank you, everybody. Can we go into D, announcements?
I don't have any announcements specific to the COC at the time. Does anybody else?
I'll be talking about it later, but the point in time count will be held later this month and there are flyers by the door.
We'll talk about it.
It's on the agenda.
Okay.
We'll move into E, reports and presentations.
Okay, I would like to start by a welcome to a new member and then a guest that we have here. I forgot to add him to the agenda, but Dan McIntyre has rejoined our group as a general member representing North Coast Opportunities as their executive director. Welcome back, Dan.
Back, Dan, we missed you.
And then Willits Community Services and Food Bank has a new executive director who is joining us here today, Kim Tippett. Kim, do you want to say any words or?
No, it's just nice to meet you all and I appreciate all that you do for our communities.
So welcome.
Updates from local jurisdictions, County of Mendocino.
Okay, I will take this one. Before I jump into some specific updates, I wanted to introduce the new social services director. That's this right here, Edie Parker. And some of you may not know, this is our CEO, Darcy Antle. If you didn't recognize her from Zoom, there she is in real life. Do either of you want to say anything?
Thank you all for being here and your commitment to the work that you're doing. Thank you. It's nice to be here to see you in person.
I second that, and I'm in like week 9 and everyone has been great. I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you.
You'll eventually stop counting.
Since Dee Dee is brand new, I do want to go around really quickly and just say your name and your organization. We don't normally do this, but I think it'd be great because you might already memorize the names. So Dan, if you want to just start.
Dan McIntyre, Executive Director for North Coast Opportunity.
Grace Martinez, Northern Circle Indian Housing Authority.
Megan Van Sant with the County of Mendocino.
Joanna Olson, the Cap and Karen Prevention Network.
Hi, I'm Van Helen. I'm Van Helen from the I'm the managing attorney for legal services in Southern California.
I'm Shannon Riley, Deputy City Manager for the City of Ukiah.
Mia Leggett, just general member. Writer.
Janie Smith from Willett's Shelter Advisory Group.
I'm Joanne Brewer with Redwood Community Services.
And I'm Blythe Post, the Foster and Homeless Youth Services Coordinator with the County Office of Education.
Judy Albert, Program Director with Domestic Violence Assault Center Project Sanctuary.
Matt McMullen, Santa Rosa, Nation's Finest.
Scott Marsh, Mendocino County Youth Project.
Diana Gutierrez, VA.
Donald Damp, an advisory member.
I'm Melissa Johnson. I'm with the Care Response Unit. Jeanette Ronellis, Fort Bragg Police Department, City of Fort Bragg, Care Response Unit.
Veronica Wilson, Mendocino County Social Services.
Amy Ash, Mendocino County Social Services.
I'm Tippett, Executive Director of the Willits Community Services.
I'm Jackie Williams. I'm the Executive Director of Fort Street Project.
I'm Michelle Fox, Rural Communities Housing Development Corporation.
And I'm Teresa DeSimone. I work for the Community Development Commission of Mendocino County, the local housing authority.
Great, thank you guys so much. It's nice to meet all of you.
All right, so other updates from the County of Mendocino. I did want to just let the group know there is a Board of Supervisors workshop tomorrow. There's a whole lot of topics being covered by the Board of Supervisors in the next 2 days. There is a small section on homelessness. That I will be part of the panel of. I will be representing your work and, talking about all of the work that you do. I will be sharing some of the data that we talked about last month, some of the snapshot data that we gathered over the last couple of months that is pretty compelling in many ways. So I just wanted to let you know that's happening. I assume some of the Board of Supervisors will have some questions and things that they wanted to get some clarity on. So I will do my best to represent all the work that you do. Just a heads up about that. The other thing I wanted to let you all know that's happening, because I don't think I've shared it much in this COC setting, but our unit here at Social Services does a pretty extensive Medi-Cal pre-release program with jail inmates. We do have a system that we quietly developed over the last year or two, whereby inmates that are in jail and they know when they're going to be released within the next month or so are able to apply for Medi-Cal while still in jail so that their Medi-Cal is active as soon as they are released. That program took a little bit of time to perfect, but it's going very smoothly right now. What I wanted to let you all know is if you have people that you're working with that are ending up in jail for short periods of time, you want to make sure that their Medi-Cal stays active so you can continue to serve them once they're released. You're welcome to call our unit and we can, help you facilitate that process, make sure that things are on track for those individuals so that there's not a break in services when they're released. So I know it's not homeless specific, but it is a benefit as CalAIM gets rolled out, more and more homeless related services are linked to your Medi-Cal eligibility and Medi-Cal enrollment. So it's becoming even more critical that people maintain their Medi-Cal enrollment when they're in and out of jail. So I wanted to let you know that's happening, and it's not facilitated by Veronica or I, but Lily Caravello and our outreach unit does that work, and we communicate really closely. So I wanted to let you know that resource was there.
Is there a centralized phone number provided?
As I was talking, I was like, so if you're interested in finding that out, email me and I will make sure I know the right person to tell you. I actually don't know Lily's phone number off the top of my head, and I'm not sure what the most efficient way for her to gather that information is. So let me know and I will make sure that you're connected. But it's moving along really smoothly now. I don't think I have any other updates specific to the County of Mendocino right now. Things are going well. We're really excited to have our new social services director online. Those of you that have service contracts will start seeing her signature and her involvement more and more as we go through the contracting process too.
Thank you. City of Ukiah.
Shannon, just a couple things. There's a couple housing projects in the works. Both are tribal. Actually, there's a project that's sponsored by Pinoli that'll be about 35 units, we think, off of Cleveland Lane. It's on a long, narrow stretch of property between Cleveland and Gobi. That's extremely difficult to develop for a number of years, and Pinoliville finally was able to make that happen. They hired the city architect that did the Sun House apartments, which are the PEP senior housing apartments next to the museum, which is a beautiful project. So we're looking forward to that one. They're breaking ground soon. And then another project, which I think is Northern Circle, an elder housing project. Yeah, about 12 units off of Cooper Lane, off of Waugh. So both of those are coming on track. While they're not strictly affordable housing, it does help free up housing inventory so that other people can move around. So we're excited about those.
Shannon, are you saying they're not affordable housing or they're not homeless housing?
they're not restricted for affordable housing necessarily.
They're under market rate or, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Not ours.
yours is restricted
Yeah,
for the
mine's
seniors.
Low income and elderly.
Yeah.
And then other relevant news might be that we are extending the rail trail to the south. It will go from where it terminates at Hastings, right there kind of by what used to be Crush, to about Norgard Lane. So I only mention that because that's a known encampment area. And so there will be people who will probably be displaced by construction and things like that. So we'll be as sensitive as possible, but there will be a lot of activity in that area.
When's that starting?
We hope mid-spring.
Great.
All right, thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
City of Fort Bragg.
Same, Jeanette. So we opened up our extreme weather shelter in November, and that was open at the beginning, and so I just have some numbers on that. So in November, we opened up for 13 nights, serving 114 rooms throughout the month. And then December was really wet and rainy, so we had 19 nights open, 56 rooms. During the big storm, it was very low barrier, so we kind of took everybody that normally if they didn't meet criteria for the extreme weather shelter, they still were given that service out of the storm. We worked together with food bank and churches to ensure they had meals so they could stay in their rooms during that. So with the weather shelter open, it's a rollover from our 24-bed shelter in the city of Fort Bragg. Hospitality, they have to meet the same criteria as them, same rules and guidelines, same bans. Every day between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. It's going to be 39 degrees and under will open, or the 60% chance of rain and above will open. So it's working pretty well. Hopefully January is not as wet. I also have some upcoming events. I'm sorry, I missed the meeting in November. I was a little sick. And so I have those. If they've been shared already, I'm sorry. So I'm part of our Mendocino County Peer Support Critical Incident Stress Management team. And we do have a training coming up. It's geared for emergency services, chaplains, or mental health providers. It's essentially to be trained in critical incident stress management in a group setting. So if there was anything like that to happen within the community in any capacity, is how we get together after and debrief and provide peer support for us. So that's a 3-day training. It's free to have a little flyer on it if anybody wants to take a look at it. The training actually will be in Ukiah on the 30th. The 27th to the 29th, it's 3 days from 8 to 5 at the Ukiah Valley Conference Center. It's a great training to have. And that's January. And then every year we have a practicum where we'll go and do like scenario trainings if there was an incident to happen. And we just had a really, in the city of Fort Bragg, I'm sure everybody saw it. We had a missing juvenile and it didn't end up the best way we had. We put in lots of hours to try to work that case. So after that, we came in to do a debriefing with a chaplain and a psychologist and other people to kind of de-escalate our staff and everybody else that worked the case. So it's really helpful training to have. RCS shared this one. So RCS, Adventist Health, 2 other partners are hosting a free sex trafficking summit. So for child exploitation, you'll get to learn more about it. We'll have an FBI agent come in. We'll have 2 people that have gone through exploitation and sex trafficking. That is also a free training. It will be in Ukiah, January 21st. I'll pass these all around if you guys want to take pictures of them. It sounds really cool to learn and look at those signs of trafficking. We see it when we go out in the field, or if it's a winter shelter or a law enforcement contact, but just kind of knowing that and how to navigate and how we help them. In our county, we also see a lot of work trafficking. So if people come and work and they're promised X, Y, and Z and say somebody comes and goes to a grow, and now I have a lot of people that are undocumented being work trafficked, and how do we help them, guide them through the process of either getting back to the origin or if we're getting them to consulates, or how that could look for them. So that will be covered too. Super awesome. And then I also, Redwood Valley Rancheria is going to do an opiate intervention full day training. I will be there as well, so I have all that information.
Thank you.
We'll make copies and pass them around.
Hey, Chris, this might be a good time that we make our join-in.
Yeah, so Maker, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. And you, in partnership with Northern Circle, which means they funded the sober living environment that got repurposed for withdrawal management during the height of our opioid crisis, although it feels like we're still kind of the height of our opioid crisis. But so the 18-bed sober living that we had on our site and had used for years for sober living really was dedicated to withdrawal management. In March, we expect the 24-bed new sober living to be completed along with our new behavioral health building, providing 2 more group rooms and space for more one-on-one counseling. So we're ecstatic and so pleased that the weather seems to know when to rain and when to stop and when to rain, when not to rain. So it does look like we'll make that March date, which means this spring there will be additional sober living beds available for folks coming to treatment. And it's been really hard on our team to not have that because the folks coming into treatment, half of them are unhoused and unemployed. So to complete treatment and have no safe landing place has been really difficult, but you guys all know. So something to look forward to. There will be an open house and party. So we look forward to that.
Jackie, when it's all done, will you tell me exactly what will be there? Like in April, what will be, how many you have?
So you know, the existing buildings are all used for residential treatment.
Okay.
And so
How many beds of residential treatment?
well, this expansion has increased that to 40.
Okay.
So we're able to serve up to 40 people now
In residential treatment.
in residential treatment. And that includes some of those beds are detox or withdrawal management.
So within the 40 is the detox and movement. Okay.
And in the March, April timeframe, we will continue with that 40 for treatment, and then we will have 24 sober living beds.
Do people always go from the treatment to the sober living, or do you ever welcome people to sober living if
They
they've got
don't
treatment
have to.
elsewhere?
Typically they do. They don't have to go from our residential treatment into sober living. They have to have recently completed a treatment program. And so even some of the folks that complete a treatment program in jail or prison, we often ask that they do just a little bit day, just so we get this on our norms and expectations on our campus.
Sort of finish it off there. And then how long can people stay in the sober living and jail?
Sober living is not held to the old transitional housing regulations. So the average is somewhere, you know, between 30, 60 days, but there are people that end up, you know, staying almost a year.
Okay.
Those situations usually are that the person had a physical illness or a physical condition as well as addiction, and it you know, to recover physically and all that, it just takes longer. So yeah, we can't wait.
That's exciting.
And thank you to our partners.
And so I understand the Northern Circle sponsoring it. Is it designated for Native people, or is there, how does that work?
We're
Figuring that out?
We're bringing that out.
The reality is that
Will be the priority.
that's the priority, but that's also the largest population we serve. So that would not be a new situation for us. The getting us back into the mode of helping people find housing and find employment is something we're looking forward to too, because that kind of falls away when you don't have that housing.
Fantastic.
And I think us and Scott are gonna create another project by the end of the year with youth. That's the next project on our desk, is getting that facility available for the youth to have that too. And then I think after that, it's just more of You know, like I said, our project standards is, we never had a relationship, you know, with city and other organizations, always been isolated. But I think that we have proved that we can work together. You know, it's not you. I think all of us together can get this on board, because in the end, we're serving the people that need us the most. And like I said, in the end, I want to buy a motel and make sure we have wraparound services for people somewhere safe, where they feel safe, that we can protect them, get them in the place where they need to be. And that's my end result. And then I'll retire. But until then, you know, just the work's good, and the only way we're gonna do this is together. You know, and I do want to say on the other portion, thank you for that, is that we still need to meet with every organization in this county. And we need to meet in a place where we could all share each other's resources. That's super important, that we know each other, what each other has to offer. If we don't, we're isolating and not serving the need of this county. So if us as a COC can actually get that going one day, because I think the most important part is all of us have that place at the table, and we have the people that we need to meet. I don't know who I need to go to when I go to NCO. I don't know who I need to go to do that. And I think that needs to happen within the next 4 months from the COC. Just a thought, sorry.
All right, Vice Chair, you can make that happen.
All right, so,
Don't think we have any other jurisdictions.
Yeah. all right, so we'll go to 3 with standing committee reports. Strategic planning.
Yep, so we finally scheduled a meeting for January 30th at 1 p.m. And I do need to ask the membership to make a decision right now. So our meeting's on January 30th, but right now I have 8 board members who want to be part of the strategic planning committee. So for staying a committee structure, we can't have more than 6 board members on the strategic planning committee. Otherwise, we have a quorum, and then it becomes a Brown Act situation where it really should be a full meeting. So the question before the board is, do you want to switch the strategic planning committee to just a special board meeting, which is totally fine? But if we do, I need you 8 board members to show up, or because then we won't have a quorum and everything will get derailed. Or do you want, are there 2 board members who are kind of on the fence, not really sure they want to be part of the strategic planning committee? Be happy to step down. Either way is totally fine with us. We just need the direction today. So did that make sense? Did anyone not follow that? Okay. Ideas?
On the board, you don't need to worry about what you're talking about.
If you're on the board?
If you're not.
Oh, if you're not on the board, yeah, you don't have to worry about what I'm talking about. That's right. You don't even have to follow it. But does anyone have any suggestions on how to move forward with this?
Can I just ask, does everybody know who want to
it is.
participate?
Yeah, maybe I should read that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board members who've indicated they want to be on the strategic planning committee are Michelle Fox, Priest Martinez, Joanna Olson, Judy Albert, Paul Davis. I just realized I made a mistake here. Teresa Dame Simone and Sage Wolf. So it's actually 7 of you, not 8.
I could pull myself off.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be. I think I'm going to be for the area.
I think I did pull myself off, Megan.
Oh, you did.
It's talked about.
You're right. Oh, maybe that isn't an issue.
All right.
Because you're right.
I'm in town that day.
You are in town
The
that day.
next day.
Okay, but Priest, are you feeling on the fence? You're okay with?
If it helps me coming off that,
Yeah. It helps like you being there.
then I'll do it.
Me too. All right, I appreciate that. I didn't want to kick anyone off, but it does make it a little easier.
I felt that way though. Once I see council,
Not trying to. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then we're good. We're meeting on January 30th. I will send out the agenda ahead of time and just as a little preview, this strategic planning committee kickoff meeting, we're really going to decide the structure of what we're going to do. Are we starting all over with the strategic plan? Are we updating the strategic plan? How do we want to approach this project before us? So that will be the main agenda for that meeting.
Megan, you just cut it down to 5 now?
I think I just cut it down to 1, 6.
Oh, so Teresa didn't.
I took Teresa off and Priest. Wait.
Joanna, right? You're not.
No, Joanna's gonna
I'm
be
here that
there.
day.
So the remaining board members are Michelle, Joanna, Judy, Paul Davis. Wait, you're right. I had Sarah McCormick checked off as a board member. I don't know why. And Sage Wolf. You're right. So we only have 5.
City of Fort Bragg is a board member. It doesn't remember.
Ah, okay.
Representing it. she can still make decisions for City of Fort Bragg.
So I was correct to write that, so there are 6 now.
Okay.
Okay. The meeting will be median. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're good. We have 6 board member organizations represented on this. All right, thank you.
We need shelters and solutions.
Yeah, we had a really good meeting last week where the committee approved updates to draft updates to the rapid rehousing written standards. There was a new activity type, landlord incentives that were released, that were created, established after these written standards were established. So we had to go back and update them. Because we've got kind of a big meeting and we're doing the point in time count and there's some other focus, I went ahead and opted to present that to the board at the next meeting. So the written standards aren't here today, but I do have a copy of them if anyone would like to see them, and I can email it to you. And it's on the COC website for that committee meeting. So more to come on that for next month. We are still working on revising the written standards for emergency shelter to include non-congregate shelter, direction on guidelines and prioritization. That's something that the board had tasked them with that's been ongoing. So we're really going to dive into that one next. And then a related topic that's been coming up is with the Willits Shelter Action Group and emergency weather shelter in Willits. And so with SAG, Janie here can share more if she wants to. They opted not to try to provide direct services this winter. And so I'm working back with Kim Tippett with Willits Community Services on establishing some kind of a project in Willits to expand their non-congregate shelter to nights that meet certain criteria, similar to what they do in Fort Bragg. So we're looking at providing that emergency shelter when it's freezing, when it's raining, when it's snowing. You know, we'll have as much capacity as we can create in Willits. Anything to add?
It's going well, though. I feel like there's more opportunity now for stays at the motel and people are, and some money coming in too from different organizations to support that. So it's good.
And I could just say, since I've started, our demand has tripled. So it's been.
Yeah. Have you guys been able to identify any additional capacity? Any more rooms?
No, we've started calling additional resources. Some of the hotels in the area have said that they would consider opening. Yeah, so.
Okay, wonderful, beautiful, like that.
Because I know Lena has really worked with us and has been willing to take money off of the rooms and.
Okay.
We typically will keep a list of people that, you know, are not welcome there because of whatever reason the last time they stayed. So as long as we do that, she's okay with renting us rooms, and we have a really good working relationship with her. We've been doing it for many, many years. So.
Can I just ask a question too? I noticed that, you know, oftentimes when I make referrals to like building bridges that they're actually usually full. And I know that they had the shelter in Fort Bragg that was operating, you know, during because same thing was happening here in Ukiah in terms of terrible storms and stuff. So I don't know whether RCS, do you have any updates on, you know, did you have to turn people away or anything like that? Because we didn't seem to have any other solution for people who may be out in that inclement weather here in Ukiah.
Yeah, we turn people away. We do get up to capacity every night. We push our numbers up as high as we can for what's allowed in the building. And there's turnover daily though. So usually there's a bed or two every day.
I just happened to be driving home sometimes during the night and later in the evening sometimes, and I saw an awful lot of people, covered up with things and stuff like that. And so I don't know how that got allocated, but I just think that that shouldn't be something that perhaps that we drop, that we don't consider just because we have a homeless shelter.
I think that wasn't, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Judy, but the Fort Bragg Emergency Winter Shelter was funded because they came forward with a proposal. And the same that may be in development with Willits as well. So nobody in Ukiah has offered or requested to do an emergency winter kind of concept. If it did, it would probably be entertained. I can't say it would necessarily be funded, but it wasn't, that's how it evolved.
One of the biggest limitations that we're facing is all the rounds of HAP, homeless housing assistance and prevention program funds through the state. Rounds 3 forward, you're not allowed to fund any new emergency shelter beds. So if it's not on your HIC from the year before, you can't add it. So we cannot use HAP funding for a new non-congregate shelter. We're having to use alternate funding that the county has to do what we're doing with Willits Community Services. That's why the COC wasn't involved in that, because it's county controlled funds under personnel.
Although if we do serve some people from Ukiah, so we might want to talk about, if there's a need and they're coming to our food bank, maybe.
Right. I know transportation between Ukiah and Willits is kind of a big issue. There's only like 2 or 3 buses a day that run over the hill, maybe more than that, but it's not a ton. And the last one's like kind of early. So I know that has been a barrier to making that happen in the past, but this is Joanne Brewer with RCS, who you will make sure that you get in contact with.
Yeah.
And be the right person to.
Sometimes we've,
Are you serving people that live in Ukiah at the food bank there? And I can help. We're the food bank in Ukiah.
okay.
So
We do get some. We get some from Ukiah, Fort Bragg, Laytonville, Lake County, so our footprint is pretty large.
Judy, some of our shelters do have a small, kind of motel budget as well attached to that. But what we learned, and we had our shelter evaluators here and they haven't provided their report yet. But what we learned is it sounds like, and those of you that are shelters should weigh in here, operating both a congregate shelter and a non-congregate is a little tricky. It's just kind of blends different kinds of focuses and different kinds of, so I'm now not surprised that it's evolved the way it is and that MCHC has their shelter and Fort Bragg City Police, because it seems to be difficult to kind of do both at the same time.
Sure.
So that's programmatically in the way you shuffle around clients. So if there was a totally different operator who wanted to do a motel program in Ukiah, they haven't come forward yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a crucial.
There is also, it's not inclement weather, but your access to motel vouchers, and it's such a small population, but really through CalWorks is available here through the county social services. But again, it's so limited. You have to be enrolled in CalWorks. You can only do 14 days a year. It's not really what we're talking about here.
Right.
But it's available, and sometimes it works out for some people.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that. Coordinated entry?
It's going well. We have a committee meeting this week on Thursday at 9 a.m. We're going to be talking more about the coordinated entry training and wrapping up the online portal. We're adding recording of the Zoom training that we did with all the end users and the assessors. So we'll be putting that on as part of the required curriculum. We're going to be creating another video. Paul is working on this, where it directs you to where in the video in the mock interview that we did during that session, on where that specific question is linked. So if somebody's like, well, how do I ask this question? It's just right there in a link and they can just open it and it'll open the YouTube and there it is, or whatever the video platform is. And so that'll be the finalized last pieces and that will be complete. And so the committee will be pivoting at this next meeting to working on two parts of the coordinated entry system simultaneously. One is to build out the referral process between persons on the by name list and the housing programs that use the by name list to identify tenants. And so instead of having a by name list that we provide and then the housing providers pull from, it's instead going to be a push system where the person comes in and as part of the assessment, we say, are you interested in permanent supportive housing? Are you interested in the plateau? Are you interested in Live Oak? And if they say yes, then it gets indicated to a group of folks. And then once a month or once a week, we still need to work that out. A group of folks is going to work through all of those new ones and actually do a referral in HMIS to that housing project.
Right at that time,
It's gonna be a process. It's not gonna be during the screening. I mean, that's too much to ask. You can ask questions, are you interested in these projects? But actually doing the referral, it's gonna be done by a centralized group until we figure out an alternate way of doing it. That's the way most communities do it. The assessors ask, are you interested in X, Y, and Z? And then a matching team then matches those people with the appropriate housing programs.
So the accepting housing programs will have kind of a continual flow, not this pull concept.
Right.
The premise. Okay.
So they'll get the referral and say, I'm sorry, this person's not eligible and refuse it for whatever reason, or say, yes, they're eligible, we'll put them on our waiting list.
Okay.
And then updates can be provided as, you know, maybe that person gets housed, then we close out that referral.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not on your waiting list anymore. And that kind of live doesn't happen with by name list because, you know, people have to be exited to come on. But this is, and that's really what the heart of the coordinated entry list manager will be doing is not just managing the by name list, but managing those cases and getting them to those housing providers.
So that was just my question. So then the case manager, whoever is filling that out with the client, would have the description of all of those different housing programs.
That's the idea behind it. I said we're just starting okay, let's start planning this. So what that actually looks like, we need to develop. Right. If you want to be part of it, you're more than welcome.
I mean, I was just thinking in my mind, asking a client, like, are you interested in X, Y, Z, and A, they're gonna have no idea what any of those categories.
Right, and it might be a second interview. It might, we haven't figured that out. We gotta talk about it.
I think that's great.
Develop.
I think what's like, especially kind of like a broad stroke, sometimes people are like, I am not moving out of Ukiah. I can't, you know, my whole family's here. I don't want to be on the plateau list, you know, and vice versa. So geographically, sometimes people know right away whether they're willing to, they can feel like they can go anywhere or not.
And a lot of times people just say, just send anything. Just
some of them do that, right?
I don't care.
And some do that.
I don't want to leave Ukiah. You know, it could be something as general as that to kind of just give us some idea on, okay, which housing, you know, should we do? We can figure that out locally. And then the other half of what we're going to be doing is looking at the prioritization. We're still using the VI SPDAT, and there's some data points that we just don't have any visibility on, like how long it takes between a person enrolling in coordinated entry and actually moving into a house. Like we don't have that, what that looks like. And so we were a little nervous about our prioritization, but I really think that we can develop something that's a little bit more simplified for the VI SPDAT and come up with a better way of prioritizing. It's easier for the assessors and more comprehensive for the clients. So we'll be doing those simultaneously and looking at those.
I did want to ask, how many people get the monthly list that Paul sends out every month?
We do.
Okay, those of you that do, I encourage you, even if you don't attend the meetings, to just skim the list to continue, because I always skim the list. I don't attend the meetings, but I skim the list because sometimes somebody's moved into Live Oak and it didn't get, so keeping that list up to date, because you may say, oh, look, we actually know this person was housed. It's really helpful to give that information back to Paul, who manages that list, because otherwise we're losing the opportunity to show some outcomes. I continue to think that we have people who are housed, we forget to report back that they're housed, and we're not able to take credit. You are not able to take credit for that work, so. Or you may know something else, they moved, they whatever.
I always feel like I'm asking questions. So I want to ask you a question. So what is happening at the CDC?
So with our housing choice voucher program, probably around the 10th or 12th of December, we received a notification from HUD telling us that we need to be really, really careful with our voucher funding in 2025 and to expect some budget cuts in 2025. They said they could be anywhere between, we only get 88% of our funding to about 97 or 96% of our funding. And so with that being said, even getting only 97% of our funding is a pretty big hit. It's about $300,000, which equals to lots of housing assistance payments. And so Congress haven't passed the budget yet, right? It was supposed to be passed. They haven't passed it. We're going into the new year. And it's not anticipated that it will be passed until sometime in March. So we don't really know what's going to happen. All we know is that there will be funding cuts. And so we, to be proactive and make sure that we have enough funding in 2025 to pay for the current program participants that are on our program and not have to terminate anybody's rental assistance. We stopped issuing vouchers. Everybody that we were processing, we put them back onto the waiting list, and they're just kind of in this waiting status until we know more. So for right now, we have to drop and our numbers have to drop. So people come off of the program every single month, right? Just because they no longer need a voucher or something happens. So right now we're just going to continue to let our numbers drop until we get more information.
Okay, so every county COC might make different decisions regarding how they're handling it. But that's how we kind of.
Well, that's for our voucher program, right? So it doesn't affect the permanent supportive housing program, which is COC funded. So there's no changes on that. We're still selecting and pulling people
coming in from the feds.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's a very much better explanation than what
you heard.
Well, I was scared that the percentages would be much
higher than.
I'm sorry, does that sound like a negative, Nellie? When you said
88% is terrifying.
It is, but
we'll see what happens.
I was thinking it could be worse. So we'll all.
It could be. I mean, we don't really know, right now.
I know in HUD's 2025 like funding recommendation, they said there's enough money available for them to do up to like a 2 to 3% increase across the board. So it's whether or not our Congress wants to follow HUD's recommendation and take that money from HUD's budget and use it somewhere else.
And so that's the thing, HUD has been projecting that in 2025, we'll get 102% of our normal funding. So we've been building up to spend all 2024 to be able to spend 102%. And now they're saying, whoa, wait, hold on.
You're not getting more, you're getting more.
We better wait.
I really appreciate that clarity. That helps.
Okay.
That's D, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We haven't met yet, and a meeting date has not been set. Camille and I have a meeting scheduled soon to schedule that. We were trying to get in touch with Faith and Joanna and more to come.
Okay. Membership committee?
No meeting is scheduled as of yet. A press release was issued after the last full membership meeting in October, recruiting new members. I included the recording to the orientation that I provided in October on what a COC is. I pulled out the recording for just that presentation, and it's linked on the COC homepage. As is that same basic information from the press release about membership recruitment. So that was accomplished. And that's all I really have to report at this time for that committee. Any questions?
MCHSCoC performance measurement?
We met last week. It was a small but mighty group. Thank you, those of you who could join. We had Nation's Finest and CDC and ourselves. The LSA, the 2024 longitudinal system analysis, was due on the 9th, and it was submitted on time with 0 errors. Yes. And 15 flags that all were explainable, with explanations that were accepted by the HUD review team. There were a couple of logic concerns that the reviewer had. And so we reached out to Chris Pitcher with ICF, who's our HUD COC liaison and expert on all of this. And he confirmed that we were right in the way that we had it set up specifically for that project, and the way that it was going. We didn't want to move up end dates on ESG tribal projects that didn't serve. So like they may have stopped serving, like the last person was in February, but their grant ended March 15th. We kept the project end date as March 15th instead of the last night someone was served, like HUD was recommend. The HUD reviewer, they are not HUD staff, they're contractors. They were recommending we move it up, and we said, no, we want to show that these services were approved, available on these nights. This is what our capacity was. That'll affect our capacity if we look at it. So we're not doing that. And there was another one I can't remember, but it was a similar idea of, no, we need to keep at least this one bed inventory because they could serve someone. Just because they didn't doesn't mean we don't want to show that they can. So lots of little details there. I'm waiting for feedback from the corporate office with Adventist Health on our agency HMIS participation agreement. They wanted to review it, and so NCO has signed it, but we're holding off on rolling it out to all the others until we get feedback from Adventist Health, because I'd hate to have all of you sign it, Adventist Health come back with suggestions, and then have to have you sign a new one. I might have to have Dan sign a new one, but he's okay with that.
Veronica,
Yes.
is Faith your main point of contact? Getting that through Adventist Health?
It's out of the Roseville office.
Okay. Is it moving? Do you need help?
It's not moving, but I was gonna wait for Faith to get back, and after the point in time.
Send me an email with the contact information of who you're working with, and let me see what I can do.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Talked about it last time. We're still in process of developing an anonymous client policy on how to enter a client anonymously so they can still appear on the by name list. But if they're fleeing domestic violence or opt out of that way they can still be represented in the system. And that's pretty much it. Any questions?
All right, thank you. for ad hoc committee report.
No. We only have one ad hoc committee at this point in time, and that is the 2025 point time count ad hoc committee. Things are going well. As I said, the count is going to be held on Wednesday, the 29th. I'm working back with Paul Davis and Jessica, whose last name just escaped, Fitch, with Hospitality Center in Fort Bragg. I'm working with Joanne and the staff at Building Bridges and Scott with the youth project for the Ukiah account. We're kind of struggling for the Willits area. It's probably going to be me leading it. But if anybody wants to be in Willits and Kim, maybe we can talk a little bit more about that to see if maybe you guys might be able to just be a little bit of a part of it. We can talk about that.
Veronica, do you have enough volunteers or?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't have visibility of who signed up yet. So I'm gonna say we need as many volunteers as possible. And if you're asking, do I need you to volunteer? The answer is yes. It's also in the COC governance charter that every agency will contribute to the point in time count in some way. So like MCOE, they're doing a screening with their liaisons. I don't know, Blythe, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so what we did last year for the point in time count, Alex and, I'm sorry, I forget. Peter, put together like a spreadsheet so that we can calculate our unhoused families that are enrolled in school. And so we're asking that all 13 school districts, gather their information that they've already identified, unsheltered families up until this point, or the night of the count that they're meeting with families to fill out those demographics. And then they did a really nice job having a spreadsheet that's very easy to read with demographics and ethnicity for our district liaisons to, fill that out with the families and then get it back to us. So I think that it was useful, although this year, we've sent it out. I sent it out today because last year it was the day before the count and liaisons have a million things to do. So trying to get all that documentation. We didn't have a very good count last year. So I think we'll have a better turnout this year.
We're gonna be working back with the veterans again for them to kind of do their targeted outreach. I know Will has some stuff in mind on how to do that. And we have flyers right over here with the press release and a recruitment flyer. And if you can't find the link for any reason, let me know and I'll send it to you directly.
But it did sound like Peter said there was like 35 people that had already signed up.
did he? Okay.
Yeah, so like they felt comfortable
But
with
for
that
three
number.
regions, that's 10 people per
Okay.
region, and that's enough for one per team. So we need like 90 to 100.
I thought he was
volunteers.
not counting agency people in
Or
that.
maybe he
number.
wasn't, I don't know.
We want to,
Get
we'll make
clarity.
sure we get a look at it just to make sure that it's, everybody is welcome, but there's some people that are particularly skilled and we want to make sure that we mix teams with a driver, somebody's really good at spotter and somebody's really good with like the app. Like that was my thought. You need all those elements together in a team so we can do the app part too. So.
Oh, that's my report. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Any questions? We'll move on to projects. Update from Jeanette.
Okay, so in December, I did not attend the reentry meeting. It was an all hands on deck for our missing juvenile case.
I didn't. It was during a committee meeting that we had, so I wasn't able to attend either. Was anyone else able to attend the reentry meeting in December?
Did go and I cannot remember what happened. Sorry.
You weren't expected to give a report.
So I went last week. It was.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was last
Okay.
Okay, January. Was that people? I did log in a little. I was doing a Narcan training, but Same, like it was a smaller cohort, like CDCR, Jill reentry meeting. Davina, who does that, is the lady doing the CISM training, which is kind of cool. She does both. I introduced EWS and how that looked like and how they could do referrals and who could use that. Megan shared already, Lily went over what they're doing with the jails and how. Yeah, okay, so she went over about how they apply for Medi-Cal and how we could help that, especially if they're trying to get into a residential treatment facility. Working with their Medi-Cal to ensure they have that so they can work with the outreach teams to get them there. She also discussed like if they're out of county Medi-Cal and we have to transfer it over, like even when I've worked with individuals, it might take a longer time, so we have a longer wait time to get them somewhere, but she's able to assist in making that expedited to switch over to Mendo County, even if it's just the drug Medi-Cal part. So that was good information and a resource. That's what we're trying to do.
I think just to piggyback on that from Jeanette, if there's some urgent need and access to treatment, drug treatment or mental health treatment is considered an urgent need, there are pathways to get that done faster. So if your client feels like they've been told they have to wait a couple months or something, that's probably not true. I mean, it might be true if they just let it happen, but Lily's team is able to expedite things or make sure that they get expedited when somebody's waiting for treatment, waiting only for Medi-Cal coverage in order to access treatment.
That's all I really. It's pretty short. Am I missing anything, Joanne?
She's like, glad you remembered.
And just a small update, it's not part of that actual collaborative, like part of the meeting. But as you know, part of the results of the work, I've been working back with Jennifer Poole with GU Reentry and Buffy Barassa with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office on trying to engage with CDCR on services for people, on parolees who are experiencing homelessness and how, the community service providers can coordinate back with the appropriate people, identifying who the appropriate people are and things like that. So that's something we've been working on. We haven't made a ton of headway. Our schedules are really different. So we're just kind of trying to get there, but that's something that we're working on.
Yeah, I remembered one thing. CDCR was there. We kind of communicate with them, trying to learn about what they do or how we can help them. But they also are looking for a committee to help do their resource fair. They're looking at spring, early summer, where other agencies would get together. Last year was in Ukiah about services that people who have exited jail to get support. And so most of our agencies could probably go just to see how we could do that. And then also learn about each other so we can help those that are incarcerated to reduce the recidivism, the support if it's tattoo removal or housing or whatever that might be.
Does CDCR want to do a reentry fair
or reentry?
Oh, the collaborative overall, the same thing they did last year.
Yeah, it's how we host it. So Buffy's looking for people who want to be part of that committee.
Thank you. I mean, we're interested, like, that's another part that's huge for us, and my mind frame says BHBH funding, because that's what the new money was for anyway, and then we're building that with legislation right now to try to get that out as soon as possible. I think that us sharing information with you guys also to get you guys on the same page, like some of us need to be put on that board, for the state of California, because all the way they're going to do is just allocate it for however they see fit. And I don't want that to happen this time. That's a huge pot of money that's going into that. I think travel set aside, I think 600 million out of that. So that budget's huge. We're only a 5% portion of it. So think about, we should be sitting at the COC, like trying to get into that area with the state, before they start nominating people that have nothing to do with that position. Sorry, but a lot of times that's what it is. A lot of people don't know what that position stands for. So I'm gonna share my information with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, question?
Oh, no, I just wanted to mention again, we provide, expungement work for our regular intake, but we do have a special clinic that we're going to host March 5th and 6th. Possibly in Fort Bragg. If not, we're going to do it in Ukiah. If we don't have in Fort Bragg, we're going to do it in Ukiah and Lakeport, March 5th and 6th. And I'll send out the flyer. I usually send it out to Veronica, or I'll send it out.
What's the event for?
expungement, so, you know, early termination probation, expungement, what people call expungement, it's a clean slate.
Okay.
Clinic. So we provide direct services, helping them fill out the form to go into court, to ask the judges to clean their records because it's impacting their housing, employment, all these things that face these barriers to reentry because of their records.
Okay, cool.
That would be good info to just share with the group. And anybody's welcome to attend the meetings.
Angelica, how big a room or would you need to, when you do that? I mean, how many people typically show up for those?
It depends. I mean, in Lake Fort, we're gonna use Circle Native Minds. It's gonna let us use their room over there.
That's small.
It is kind of small.
Need a bigger room.
I've already asked, so I don't.
Okay.
They're great hosts, so, we'll see. Maybe we'll do it in 2 days in a different place in Lake Fort.
Okay.
If there's that much of a need.
I can't imagine that there aren't folks in treatment that would be interested, but also we have our outpatient room that's not on the treatment facility. It's on the Ford Street campus. So, you know, that could be another option for you if you end up trying to find a space in Ukiah.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. After housing, I mean, Clean Slate is the most requested service.
Right.
Are you willing to do like a Ukiah and a Fort Bragg one? Yeah, there's a need. I can't remember who I spoke with in Fort Bragg. Because we could get town hall. Okay.
So it takes care of others too, right? So, all right, we'll go to G, board protocols and governments.
So I'm gonna request that we skip G and come back to it. Camille had to step out of the, it's still here, so I know she didn't leave, but I don't know. Can we come back to that one?
Okay, we'll come back. We'll go straight to H. Funding.
Yeah.
One is updates.
Veronica, do you want me to check on?
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab there's a paint pen over here. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'll just pick up while she's getting back on track. So for half state funds, our COC build application was submitted on time. I'd requested additional documentation, so we're still waiting for that. The applicant, if you all remember, for COC builds was our CHTC. Do you know when they're supposed to announce?
No, we're hoping July.
Okay, so really long time.
Long time. I just wanted to confirm because at last meeting it hadn't really been applied. And I got this agenda is a little mixed up.
Yeah,
I apologize. So that's the report on the HUD Continuum Repair Program. So reverse A and B, but the I's underneath them are correct. So my apologies for that. So thank you for that's for the COC program. Any questions on that? HAP round 5, we received the grant agreement. And that means that we can move forward with processing the funds internally within the county. So the county that's what kind of creates the budget code and all the things that are needed to follow from there. And so at the next meeting, I'm going to request that the board or the board chair appoint an ad hoc committee for HAP rounds 5 and 6 so that we can determine if we want to continue funding some projects that are already in existence, such as our shelters or rapid rehousing programs. And then if there's any funding left over, what projects that wants to be used for, and if an RFP is needed, things like that.
As a reminder for you all of the process, we issued an RFP in 2023 for HAP funding. RFPs are good for 3 years. So any applicants that were selected from that round don't have to reapply for the same, we don't need to issue an RFP for the same activity types because it's good for 3 years.
Any questions, comments? Kesh, all the funding has been expended and we're still working on grant closeout with the state. I think we got our last request for funds submitted and approved. We're waiting for the check. Once that comes, then the grant agreement can be fully closed out and we'll close it out of the budget and I will stop talking about it. Any questions on cash? I'm gonna move to Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG. This is federal funding that is allocated to the state of California, the Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, receives it. HCD, December 10th, released major changes to the program. Previously, ESG was written into state regulations. So that meant it was state law. And changes or revisions to that required the state legislature's approval and changes. As of December, that has changed. The regulations were revised to guidelines, which means it's not straight from the legislature and HCD can make changes more easily to it. The 2024 ESG guidelines are linked to this agenda. So if you have this electronically and you click on those words in blue, it'll download the PDF for you. The major change that this brought about is how the funding is allocated. Before, with non-entitlement jurisdictions like Mendocino County, HCD would do two competitions, a non-competitive for rapid rehousing funding. That way every COC got a base amount of money no matter what. And then the remainder of the funds, which was, we used 60% for rapid rehousing and 40% was available for emergency shelter or other eligible activities like HMIS and some others. They have since gotten rid of that. And they've said, okay, COCs, we're gonna allow you to have up to X dollar amount. And in the current NOFA for funding cycle year number 1, it's $264, $64,971. It's on your agenda. So now it's up to the COC to decide how those funds are going to be used. And HCD will simply fund what we say. HCD will accept will do a maximum of 2 contracts in each COC. So previously it was 3, 2 rapid rehousing and 1 emergency shelter is the way that we did it locally. Now HCD will only do 2.
2 contracts or 2 entities?
2 entities. That it could have multiple funding, like it could have emergency shelter and rapid rehousing built into it, but it's a maximum of 2 contracts, however the COC says. And it could be 1 activity limited per, I haven't read all of them in thorough detail, but I do know for sure it's a maximum of 2 contracts. The one thing that majorly changed is one of those contracts, we also have the option to do just 1 contract between HCD and the COC's administrative entity. And then the COC can do whatever it wants, because then then the COC would be responsible for monitoring all of those rapid rehousing and emergency shelter projects. So part of this next competition is going to require the ad hoc committee to make a recommendation whether the fund should be Mendocino County COC will get the money and do as many contracts as we feel like, or are we going to limit it to 2 projects that they will contract directly with HCD and they will be monitored by HCD and the COC would just do its normal oversight like we do currently. We haven't broached the county about doing a COC COC to HCD contract because I literally just learned this. The regulations have been out, the guidelines have been out for, just a little over a month. And, the COC needs to decide, if it even wants to ask the county to entertain that thought. So that's a significant update to the guidelines.
So Veronica, there's something about a match requirement.
There's a dollar for dollar match requirement. And that's a HUD requirement.
And that was required before as well.
It was required before as well. Except for rapid rehousing was exempt from that because it was the non-competitive allocation, but that's now gone. So the match would apply to the full 260.
So Veronica, we're recommending that a funding review ad hoc committee be convened, which we're probably gonna do next.
Well, we could convene it now and that way we could meet sooner.
To kind of figure out an approach to recommend to the board on how to handle this.
Right. Well, it's both the guideline on how we're gonna do that and also doing the local competition for the 2024 NOFA that was released on December 31st. So they issued new guidelines on December 10th and then a NOFA on December 31st.
But if the COC doesn't know what approach we're gonna take, we have to figure that out first before we the applications one way or the other.
Right.
And are you imagining that funding review ad hoc committee would be the same committee that would look forward around HAP 5 and 6?
No, because there may be people that already get HAP 5 or 6 money that might want to participate in ESG and not apply for that.
Okay, so let me add
sanctuary.
a complexity to this.
Yes. I don't want to combine them. I think they need to be separate.
No, I understand that, but this is the wrinkle I'm imagining. Because HAP 3 forward is not super interested in supporting shelter, particularly new shelter beds. There could be some logic behind wanting to preserve ESG funding for shelters because that funding source is getting more restricted in other ways. But if we have two separate committees looking at this, there's not like a big picture look at it. I'm not sure how to broach that, but that is a challenge that I'm imagining. Because like if we want to think strategically about all the funding sources that may or may not be available in the next couple of years.
And optimize our options. We have
to think that through, yeah. But I agree with you that if we're convening a funding review committee, that needs to not include anyone who may be applying for either ESG or HAP funding. We will not have very many well-informed members on that committee.
We had a good group.
We did, you're right.
And there weren't any, there really weren't any on that committee of 8 that got
it. It did work out last time, but we had some people that knew for sure they weren't gonna apply. I just don't know if it's gonna be the same this time, like that we're
they may want to get finance money.
But the board should discuss and we should figure that out. But I just wanted to add that kind of element to it that's difficult. I think before that meeting starts though, I'm gonna ask leadership if they're interested, so that both directions, if they're interested in being a grantee from the feds to have COC be the kind of middle person. Right. I think it's possible they will not want to, because there's a lot of administrative burden that we already take on in social services that we're not really compensated for through these grants. Running all of this, I've always liked ESG, just goes directly from the feds to the organization. So I'm just not sure the county wants to take on another middle management role. We don't have to.
So how was the match accomplished last time?
Well, the organizations who received it would have had to say how they did. I don't know how.
Well,
do you know?
Well, it was only RCS was the only competitive applicant. So
it wasn't successful, right? I mean,
right.
Okay,
so there is none in Mendocino County. We only got the 2 rapid rehousing and that's it. So we have 140,000 in Mendocino County of ESG and that's it.
140 total, was that what it is?
Between the 2 rapid rehousing contracts, yes.
So this is a little more, I mean, still not a huge.
Right, so it's bringing in more and is guaranteeing us that, but it's guaranteeing less than if we got both rapid rehousing and because it's anywhere from 75 to 200,000 for the shelter contract. So we could have gotten up to.
But it's competitive, so we're getting.
Under the previous allocation. So it's a little less than 100,000 less than what we're.
Right.
Or we could maximize that.
Well, and it looks like there is a shot that match could get waived, and we're on the list of potential, counties that, might get extra points in how they calculate that. So again, I feel there's so many moving parts
There's a
here.
lot of moving parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a clear recommendation on how to proceed with this.
And I think that, for smaller organizations, that match becomes difficult, even on the food bank part of it. That's the obstacle we always run into, even though we have consistent donors, there's smaller donors who aren't willing to commit to the next 3 years of saying, we'll give this amount per year. So when you can do it from a county perspective and know that you have funds from different places, it makes it easier for smaller organizations to be able to do the work that they are doing. Yeah, from that perspective, so.
It's almost like we need just a working group to be fact finders first before we know.
Unfortunately, the NOFA dropped.
Oh, I know, I
We
read
don't
that.
have the luxury.
We don't have a ton of time.
We don't have the time. We have 30 days basically since December 31st to release a NOFA, a local NOFA. So our applicants have 30 days to put together a response, and then we have 30 days to make the decision. So time is of the essence with this one.
So if the review committee was going to say something like, we'd like to limit, we only want to fund activity types that are rapid rehousing, let's say this is this big one. The board would need to approve that probably at our next meeting.
Yes.
So that the local competition could be released pretty soon after that.
Yeah, we may have to call a special board meeting around early February, because with the Martin Luther King Jr. birthday holiday, we're at the end of February. So I may need to have you guys reconvene for a special board meeting in early February.
And what is the deadline for that NOFA?
March 28th at 5 p.m.
So in light of that, given that I added this weird wrinkle, but I think that I might have to let that go. I think you're right, Veronica, that we do need to convene just an ESG funding review committee. You and I can bring that broader perspective to them. That's all I guess we can do in terms of strategic use of those funds. But I think the
Vice Chair,
that now.
please appoint an ad hoc committee or authorize an ad hoc committee.
I definitely would authorize or ask for the board to authorize an ad hoc committee for this, because I think it's something important needs to just be established where they can talk about it, bring it back to us as soon as possible.
Do I have volunteers? You don't have to be on the board, just a member. Diana, would you be willing to try? Diana?
We'd like to pick people we don't think are for sure.
You know, if Amanda, I'm gonna reach out to Amanda.
Yeah, she won't be back till next week though.
Oh, that's fine.
Judy, are you interested?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I could do it. It depends on the time. I've got a really tight schedule.
And Blythe,
And I'm willing to help again as well, but I have conferences, so I'm gone in Sacramento and things like that, but yeah, I'll help.
What about Matt? Are you guys?
Yeah, what's the thing? We haven't decided yet.
We haven't decided. We'll schedule. I'll reach out to you guys to schedule something.
Okay.
Yeah.
you would be unlikely to apply though. Youth project would be unlikely to apply for these funds, so you'd be a good candidate. And let's try to get Jesse to do it. Jesse.
Yes. I'm just doing the COC.
Yeah, we will rustle up some social services member.
Anybody over here?
experience who can do it also.
Stan, maybe? No? Okay. Okay, no, that's a good group.
If it happened at this time, that would be good, because I usually leave this a little hole.
Okay, Matt,
Yeah.
Diana,
May, yeah.
does that sound good for you
I
guys?
won't be meeting.
It would be a Monday at 1:30. Mondays at 1:30 would be okay? If
Yeah,
I
that's
scheduled
fine.
it for next Monday at 1:30?
That would be good.
Okay.
Except
We'll
the
work
next
back
Monday
with.
is Martin.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have we found her?
Yes, well,
She was doing something, but she said she had some sort of work-related emergency, but she was ready to come back
Okay,
in.
I saw her and I thought.
Yeah,
about
no,
talking to
she didn't like
again.
flee very far.
This is for the
Yes.
ESG. Okay, I want to know which one.
Yep.
I mean, just a side note, just a quick question, is there any in-kind to match?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, that's what we use a lot, you know, maybe kind of,
Kind is fine.
maybe we could share some of our in-kind with you guys. Throw my organization in there, I mean, we get our own set aside for that, but, you know, kind of help out how we navigate things.
In our local NOFA that we produce, we include a list of common in-kind match sources so that applicants can get an idea on what they could use instead of having a dollar for dollar match. Because if you have other sources of funding that are also contributing to this project in some way, it's providing them food, it's providing them with utility assistance, it's, HAP funding is a great source if you already have a HAP project and you want to, you're looking at ESG to expand it, or vice versa, you have ESG and you want to, that's what we've been doing is we've been expanding ESG with HAP and then building from there. Yeah.
All right, if we could get back to item G, board protocols and governance.
Okay, so we have a vacancy on the board. And our governance charter says that the full membership has to elect all board members. So we have 2 nominations that have been accepted. And so this is to fill the seat for an individual with lived experience of homelessness. I wanted to share at the outset that the COC HUD legislation requires our board to have at least one person with lived experience, period. Doesn't matter when that experience was, they just have to have lived experience. HUD has since then issued notices, and in the annual application, they will award points for participation in our processes by people with lived experience. But we're only allowed to count people in that way that have experience in the last 7 years. So if the person on the board seat has 7 years or less, we can automatically include them. If it's not, they wouldn't be included in our COC application. And that's really the only distinction that I would want to add that's not in our governance charter already. We have 2 nominations before us, one for Donald Damp and one for Camille Leggett. Don, did you want to share anything about yourself? Why you want?
Said I've been involved with several organizations in the community. I'm still involved with Plowshare, the Meals on Wheels program, and I mean, I know most of the homeless folks in town. I work with them regularly, so. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever I can to keep things going and keep funding going and this group, Jermaine, up to date.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Don. Does anyone have any questions for Don? We'll pivot to Camille here in a second.
The only question I have is you say that up to 7 years, so like how long is that position be filled to get those points? It's not a technical part, like for me, I'm just thinking how many years we have left on the 7-year. Yeah, on the cycle, right?
So I'm
just asking the question.
How long?
Yeah.
How long it's been since
you
experienced homelessness most recently? How long?
More than 7 years.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, no, we're glad.
That's not a problem, Donald.
No, yeah.
No, it's not a problem, yeah.
And the fact that you've continued to stay in the thick and close to that community is invaluable.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Okay, and Camille Leggett, do you wanna say anything?
Sorry, I had to step in and out. There were some emergencies and duplications. I wish I could cut myself like a Starship dish and I could have multiple me's. But I am Camille Leggett. I've moved out here from Southern California back in 2020 during COVID. And unfortunately, when my dad was murdered in Riverside County, I was in a little bit of a not so good relationship, and it was a lot bit domestic violence and experienced homelessness. I received services from Building Bridges, and Sage is phenomenal, helped me get into a place. Have education. I've worked in the field as a grant writer to pay it forward. I think that's a part of my passion in getting funding for housing and all different types of services that I've had a personal connection with. Is I write with the passion behind it. And I love hearing the stories from people throughout the community. So I still do that work too.
Any questions for you?
I want to thank both of you for your interest in serving on this board and just acknowledge the awkwardness of this. So please, we've had to do this a couple times where we have to do this sort of public voting. There's no way around it, but I just really, I know I speak for everyone, really grateful you're here, grateful you're willing to serve. And you can't unfortunately vote for both of them, but I know we all in our hearts want to. So I just want to acknowledge that this is not super, but we're really grateful that you're both willing to put yourself through this.
I do want to throw it out there.
That's my question.
We did. So there's one designated seat for an individual with lived experience. And then the representative board seats, they can also be filled by people with lived experience. But there's only one that's earmarked.
And that's the only one that's empty
the
right now.
reason we're doing this is because we had a resignation. And so this is just to complete the term through, and it's a very short period of time. It's now through, here, you know what? I'm just gonna.
So Veronica, what you're saying is when we have a future vacancy on the board, again, it's kind of a free seat, not free, but it's like an undesignated situation.
Right, and that could be filled by an
Person with lived experience.
as well. We could have 10 people on the board with lived experience.
Right.
And 2 organizational representatives. So it just depends on what this group decides on who's gonna represent them.
You guys can vote. Okay, I can't vote for myself and I wouldn't. You can, I would vote for him.
You can't, you should.
You can vote, and everyone. So that's that. Let's segue
It's
to.
very awkward. I know. I'll move it. I'm gonna do that. It's terrible.
So now that we know the candidates, we're gonna vote. You have to select one of the 2. If you don't have a smartphone or tablet to do it online, I have paper ones. Just raise your hand and I'll come bring you one. If you don't know if you can vote or not, page 3 of your agenda lists the 11 board members and the 11 general members. That lists who can vote or the alternate if like Scott is here for Amanda. Anybody want a paper version?
I do because I left my phone at my home.
Yes, my phone's dead.
It's my phone. Is gonna. I know my phone is gonna.
So front page, first and last name, and then the organization you're representing. On the back is the ballot, is who you select. Yes.
Do I vote?
Yes, do you need a paper?
Yes.
I guess I need a paper too.
Okay. Your name. We got pens and things. Any others?
I know, that's crazy.
So this person would serve now through August 15th, 2025. And the seat will be reelected. We do our next round of elections. And we have some board seats that are actually scheduled, the ones that were appointed for 1 year. They're gonna expire May 20th, 2020. So our next general member meeting in April, we're gonna have to do this again, but there's gonna be 3. So Don Cabral and Camille could be nominated for that then as well.
If anybody has more time to vote.
Let's see how we're doing online. Have 9 responses.
Oh, yes. Oh, please don't, I mean. I'm busy.
So give me just a few minutes to.
How we did this?
Yeah. We're sisters. Nine, 10.
Because I'm not a member.
Oh.
I get you. Terrible. I remember, you probably don't remember when I put something like.
Don't remember because we did it.
I have 4 votes for Dawn and 11 for Camille. I will publish in the minutes how people voted. We don't need to go through it right now. If anybody wants to see it, I'm more than happy to do that. But my calculations, Camille has a seat.
Congratulations.
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 And you're more than welcome to nominate for our next meeting.
And you should.
Excellent.
Okay, with that awkward thing over.
Do we have, you know what? I think we have to actually do a motion to approve it.
Oh, motion to approve.
Yes. So.
If we can, get a motion to approve Mill to the seat that's available, what is it? Lived experience.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
I can second.
Thank you, Teresa. When I call your name, please let me know if you agree to to approving Camille with a yes, no, or abstain. Scott.
Yes.
Blythe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Diana,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Jeanette.
Yes.
Janie,
Yes.
Joanne. Joanna,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Camille.
It's like, no, sorry.
No. Abstain or no? Abstain?
Abstain, I'll.
Okay. Matt.
Can't bring yourself.
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
motion approved. Thank you.
All right. Last item is adjourn. And it says confirm next meeting date. The next meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 24th at 1:30 PM in Mendocino County Social Service Dolphin Services Big Sur Conference Room. Please note that the February 25th meeting will be held on the 4th Monday of the month in observance of the birth of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
And I may call a special board meeting. If that's the case, I'll be in touch as soon as I possibly can be. Thanks,
Jeremy.
everyone.
Jeremy, can you call me this week?
Yes, I can call you this week.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a specific time
I'll
or
be
day?
here after 3, anytime after 3.
Anytime after 3? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I miss you.
I miss you too.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna be using.